Hello everyone, here is a sequel to my previous video on lettering and mirror merge, and this time we've got the letter D from the Vivaldi font because it poses another problem in that you can't deal with it exactly the way I did in the previous video. The letter D has this section here. It might not look like a D because it's been rotated, but it has this section here which is basically surrounded by this section here. I've already broken this apart with the break apart tool, so if I click here I'll get all the different sections, and as you can see these three sections are these three here, and they are basically surrounded by this piece. So no matter which way we arrange it, there will be a jump stitch. Let's go to, there is no jump stitch as it is, but if we mirror merge there will be a jump stitch to this part from the next part, and these stitch last at the moment, this one being the last piece here, and so it's going to jump across to the next part. Now if I go out of artistic view and I've got my start and end point starting at the beginning of the design and ending at the end point of the design, so it's now going to jump across to this point on the next one. Now let's go 1 to 1 and let's mirror merge first, because the way to deal with this problem is to mirror merge the design first and work out where you're going. So let's select all, so we'll just get it all together here, and let's go to our mirror merge tool. Now how you deal with it will depend which way you mirror merge it, because if you mirror merge this way you're going to have start and end points in different places than if you mirror merge this way or this way, or in fact this way. So I'm going to do it this way today, but you can play around with the same exercise in different arrangements. So let's just left click there to lock those in place, and of course as you can see it ends here, it's going to jump across here, which means this piece here is going to stitch. Let's just go to show all so that's nice and big for you. It's going to end here and jump across here to the start point of this one, which means that this is going to stitch over the top of your jump stitch, and then it's going to end here and jump across here, so this piece is going to stitch across your jump stitch. So basically it's a bit messy. Now we can clean this right up in with a few procedures. The first thing to do is to look at all our sections and deselect off. Now I'm going to work on this as a unit, and then right at the end I'll look at if we're going to use it as a row of them as well, which is something else to think about. What I want to do is create this piece here so that it will stitch while this is stitching around here. So when this piece gets to here, I want it to then stitch this piece and then continue on stitching around here. This procedure can also be used if you're adding leaves to stems of flower plants, anywhere where you're going to have a little object attached on the side of another object. You can do what I call embedding the object. Embed the object in the path of another object. And so what we've got to think about is this as a unit and how it's going to stitch. Now if we're stitching around here, whichever direction, it doesn't matter, and we get to this point and we want to then stitch this piece and then continue on, we need this piece to stitch first, start at this end and end at this end as well. So what I'm going to do, because we've got three pieces here, is rearrange them so that they stitch in a logical order. So I'm going to move, we're right at the top of our colour film here. I'm going to just deal with this one first. I'm going to move this one up to the top. That was this one here. Then I want it to stitch this piece here. And last of all, this piece here. Now I've already looked at these, and these two have their start and end points in a logical order, but this one here, if I go to its start and end points, it's actually ending up here and starting down here, and I want it to end down here. So I'm going to move the start and end points around to the opposite direction. Don't worry about where jump stitches are moving to and going from at the moment. Press enter. You'll see now that the jump stitches move down here. We'll sort that out in a minute. Now I've got these in a logical order, but I need some way of starting up here, and the software has actually, if I zoom right in here, put a little jump stitch across here to try and stitch these as it goes around. Now you could leave that if you were happy with it, but it has caused some other problems. Let's get off here and go to artistic view, and we can see now that this piece, because it ends after this piece, it's stitching on top, which I don't like. This piece is also on top, but if I go one to one, you can't notice that. So if that was embroidered out, that won't notice, but I think you will notice that that stitch is on top there. So what I'm going to do is show all again. I'm going to actually create a running stitch from this point to the start of this one, so that I'll go out of artistic view again, so that will get rid of this little tiny jump stitch here. Okay, so let's do that now. We'll go over here and we will choose our open object, and we've got a single running stitch, and I'm just going to select the same color, and I'm going to just digitize that in. And press enter, and you'll notice that jump stitch hasn't gone yet, because when we digitize something, it always digitizes as the last object in the whole design. So let's pop down to the bottom. Here it is. Select it and bring it back up. You'll need just to hold so it scrolls through, and drop it in after the first object and before the second object. Okay, now that little jump stitch has gone. Now we can group this section of objects together as one. So left click on the first one, left click on the last one, and select group. Okay, that's now going to behave as one, which is what we want. Let's click off it, and now we're going to go to our edit mode. I'm going to leave the start here for the moment. So if I select, before I go to the edit mode, I'll select this one, and let's have a look where that's starting and ending. So it's starting there and ending here. I want it to end over here because this is the second design that's going to embroider, and I want it to then jump to the second design in the smallest way possible. So let's move that first as well. And I'm just going to leave the start there for the moment, and press enter. Now you can see, even though this is a group of all the same, if I'd have done this as an individual D first before I mirror merged, when I mirror merge, the mirror merge does really strange things to all the objects. It doesn't like the embed process, and so it mixes up all the objects, and you'd have to go through and do this all over again anyway to sort it out. So it's best to do a group of objects as a mirror merge first, and then fix all your jump stitches, and then work it out as a travelling in a line. So okay, so we've got our end point here. Let's just click off there. Now the next thing to do is to embed this object. So the way you do that is go into edit mode, and that's just clicking on your left clicking on the E key, the letter E key of your keyboard, and if you press the home button, the design will completely go black. That means at this point in time, the edit is right at the start of the design, so the black stitching is stitching that you haven't travelled through yet. Now you can travel through your stitching with your arrow keys on your board. So down arrow will travel 10 stitches at a time, and you can see my little white cross has moved. Let's zoom in there. Has moved to here, so it's travelled 10 stitches. If I use my up arrow key, it will travel back 10 stitches. If I use my right arrow key, it will travel forward one stitch, and I'll do that now. Okay, so it's moved forward, and again, so you can travel stitch by stitch through the design. If I use my left arrow key, it will travel back. So up, back 10 stitches, down, forward 10 stitches, right arrow key is forward 1 stitch, and left arrow key is back 1 stitch. Okay, let's just show all again. So I'm going to move using my arrow keys, I'm going to travel through till I reach a point, and I'm at the point now, and I prefer to do this in the underlay rather than wait until I get to the satin stitch part of the design, because that means that my whole satin stitch will stitch over the top of whatever I embed in. And I've got to that point here. Let's zoom in for you. Okay, so my white cross is here. It's a bit hard to see, but it's right here at the bottom of the piece I want to embed. Now I've grouped that piece together, remember, so I'm going to select it, and I'm just going to go up. I'm going to go show all actually, so you can see it happening, and I'm going to go cut, and it'll disappear, and paste, and it will come back. And now I've got no jump stitches at all on this section, and it comes all the way around to here, and then jumps to the start of the next section. So I'm happy with that. Okay, let's left click off. You've got to be careful you don't stay selected when you start to use your arrow keys to move your cross through the design, otherwise you accidentally move objects. So just make sure you've got nothing selected, and then move through the design with your down arrow key 10 stitches at a time till it stitches out. And if you hold it down, it will start to run through. Okay. The reason I moved to the next point is because when we're starting to create objects now, they will actually, I've mentioned before that when you digitize an object, it goes to the end of the design. If you're in edit mode, if you digitize an object, it will digitize exactly where, straight after your cross. So if I digitize an object now, it will come before this next object in the colour film, so it's a little bit easier to follow where you're up to. So this was the first object, and I've grouped that together. Now I'm going to move down to the second object by scrolling down. Okay, so I've got that in front of me now, and again I'm going to change the order of these to that logical order, and I'm going to change the start and end points of this piece here so I don't have an ugly jump stitch there over the top of itself. Enter, and already it's starting to look better, but we're going to continue on embedding as well. So now I'm going to digitize my, now you can see, because I started moving around in things, this has turned blue. So my white cross has actually gone to somewhere down here. If I deselect and come off, yes, there's the white cross there. So I need to go back again now, because I don't want to put the running stitch for here down here, do I? So let's just go back with our arrow key so that none of that's been stitched. Okay, right back to there. Okay, so my white cross is here now, and it's doing the underlay. I'm now going to go forward. And I've got my white cross here now, and so I can now cut and paste this piece in. Sorry, I'll need to digitize that running stitch like I did with this side. So let's get our open object tool and digitize from the cross And I'll just show you over here on the film strip. Oh, I'm scrolling over. But if you look at the film strip to the right here, you can see that if you watch that, let's just scroll back here. Sorry about this, people, jumping all over the place. Okay, if I press enter now, you'll see that object appear here. Exactly where we want it. If I hadn't have had my cross in the right place when I digitised that, it would have been at the end and I would have had to work, where do I put it, which is quite confusing when you've got lots of objects that look the same. So it's important to get your white cross where you want. Now the white cross has travelled up to here now because that's the piece I just digitised, but that's alright, we can leave that there. Select the piece you just digitised and the rest of that section in here to group it together, and click on group. Okay, and now just move and deselect it, move your cross back to this point here just at the beginning. So I'm just going to go one stitch forward. There we go. When your cross is in the right place, you can select this grouped area and cut and paste. So it's a bit annoying that the cross jumps around on you, but just keep an eye on it and move it to where you want it each time. Deselect off. Now if I look at this piece here, it's obviously ending or starting, ending here, and I would like it to end over here somewhere so it can jump down without crossing over, or even here. I've just got to be careful now where I put this end point, because if I go into artistic view, at the moment this is nicely tucked under here. If I put my end point here, it'll probably jump out on top, so I've just got to be careful of that. So let's get our reshape tool, and sure enough it starts there. In fact, I would like it to start over here so that I've only got a short jump stitch, so we'll take that one over there, and the end point sure enough is up here, so let's drag that down. Now I'll show you what I mean if I put it here, enter, and let's have a look at artistic view, and sure enough that's jumped on top, and this has actually jumped on top too for some reason. I'll just have to embed that as well, but we'll try moving the end point first back up to over here. So let's grab it, just to force the stitching to stitch around here and come back to that point there. And artistic view, yep, that's tucked it back under, but for some reason I still got this on top, so we're just going to double check that that's embedded. I may have forgotten to press enter, so let's just click off there, or it might have changed it on me. So we'll just go back out of artistic view and run our white cross backwards. Yes, it's changed it on me when because of where I put the end point. So you've just got to keep an eye on that. I want to go back into the underlay. That's a good spot there. Select this grouped area, cut and paste it, and just check it in artistic view. Now we've got both ends tucked under. Okay, and we've only got one little jump stitch across here, and if these are very, very close, then you won't even need to trim that. Okay, let's show all again. And now we're ending here, and of course it's starting here, so we don't want it to start here. We'd like it to start here. So we've just got to go through the or here. It doesn't matter, just as long as this jump stitch is nice and long and easy to trim. So, and some machines may even trim it automatically, depending on which machine you've got. If some machines trim extra long jump stitches automatically when the trim command is on. Okay, so let's select this piece and let's put our start and end points we'll start let's start over there, see how we go, and let's, oops, sometimes I grab nodes instead of the start and end point, so let's just zoom in so that we can grab them easily. If they're on top of nodes and things, just move them out where you can see them, and then zoom out again so you know where you're going. And so I want to try and start there, and I want to end over here this time. Enter, so that it can cross straight across here. Enter. Okay. Now deselect that, and we need to be travelling through with our cross. Oh dear, I've lost my piece out of there. Let's just undo. Okay, I don't know how I did that. That looks like I'm in about the right spot now. Let's just look in artistic view. Yep, that looks good. But I've still got my end point up here, so let's just move that, those two start and ends. Let's just do redo. No, redo mucks it up, so let's just move them manually. Move that start over there, and that end point there. Enter. Okay. Still change the embedding. These problems will occur to you. Just keep an eye on them. It can be frustrating at times, but it's worth it in the end to get a good stitch out with as little jump stitch as possible. So I'm just going to go back and embed that one more time. In fact, I could embed it there, even though it's done some of the satin stitches. It starts to run again there, so if I go back one stitch, no, there isn't a nice, oh, it should be alright. So I've got my cross here, select this object here, cut and paste, click off it, continue round. Okay, and leave my cross here. Now, let's move down to the next unit in our film strip so we can see what we're doing. Let's move these back into order. We'll worry about our start and ends at the end. I'm going to go through this process fairly quickly now because I want this to be you should understand how to do the embedding part. Now you've seen it twice. Okay, so I've moved these into order. I need to select this one and change it to start and end points. Enter, and select off, and I need to create my running stitch. Enter, and I'll move that to the top there and group those pieces. Alright, now we've done that, let's get our start and end points of this piece. Dropped it there where you can hardly see it. There we go. And I want want this one to end over here. Enter. And now I'll do the embedding of this part here. So let's just go back with our cross. Gone too far. Bringing my cross around. Here it is here, and I'm just bringing it round to that point. I've got my select tool selected, so select this piece, cut and paste it. Okay, and let's have a look in artistic view. Yes, both bits are tucked around, so that's good. Nothing selected. Continue on with my stitching. Alright, now it's got this start point here, so we're just going to do the same thing again. Get our internal piece sorted first. Let's scroll down here, so we're on the last section now. Move these into their logical order. Move the start and end points on this piece. Because I'm on the last one, I can just digitize without worrying where my cross is, because I'm right at the end anyway. So let's digitize with our open object tool. Oops, undo. I have a habit of forgetting to deselect before I select my next object, and therefore I change the object that I had selected to whatever I'm selecting. Just be careful of that. Enter. Okay, move that up to the beginning of that section. Select it and shift select your last piece, group them together. Okay, now my cross is way over here, so let's go back with that. No, let's select this piece first and put our start and end points. Sorry, I've just got my cord of my mouse caught. Okay, so this time I want the start point to start over here. And remember, I've got to be careful of that end point. Let's put it here. Okay, enter. And deselect off that. Let's have a look at the artistic view. That piece is not tucked under, so it's definitely when you're moving your start and end points you create this problem here, so it might be better to move your start and end points of this curvy bit before you do the embedding. Okay, I'll just go back. Back. That's a good spot because I've got no satin stitch there yet. Select my grouped part, cut and paste it. Okay, and continue on to the end. By pressing end button on your keyboard, you'll move right to the end. Okay, artistic view to check it. And they're both tucked under. So now we've got come out of artistic view, a design with only 2 jump stitches in it. Oh, sorry, 3 jump stitches in it, 2 very short ones here and 1 long one here that's easy to trim. Now, if I am to make this into a row, I will get a jump stitch from here to the next unit, which is this part here. Now, there's not a lot you can do about this. It's going to go right across. Let's just do that as we can go 1 to 1. If I was to edit select all, and I can either just copy and paste so I could group the whole lot together, and copy and paste, and then just move the second one along, and then I could align them. But as you can see, it's going to jump right across here to start the second one. So if I was to make this as a pattern run and use it in a line, would be no way I could avoid this, because you can't start a design here and then start the next one here or here, for instance. So what you could do though is to put your next pattern, because these are quite large now, and you're only going to fit 4 maybe in a hoop at the most. I haven't even worked it out. So now I've selected that. If I flip this one around, as you can see, I'm now going up to here. So this is a very easy to trim jump stitch too. It will stitch the whole thing together, come round here and end somewhere here. And you can easily align these by selecting them both. I'm just looking for the right key here. Okay, and align centers horizontal. So that's got them beautifully aligned. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. Stay tuned for the next one.